wish more people did, but I need to push live on Instagram. One sec. Okay, current favorite AI tool.
My current favorite AI tool is Auto Reel app. Have you heard of it?
No.
So Auto Reel app takes static images and turns them into viral video. And well, viral, it's like short form video. And it makes it look like uh, you know, professionally done. Sorry,
Wow.
can you hear that noise in the background?
No, no, you're good.
Oh, you can't? Okay, one sec.
No, I can't hear it. You're good.
Oh, you can't hear it? Okay,
No,
great.
you're totally fine. So
Right.
so you take a static image, you
Yeah,
upload
just like
it,
a static
and it
image.
brings it to life essentially.
It brings it to life, and not only that, like, if it's a fireplace, it'll add fire. If it's a hot tub, it'll make it bubble, so you can actually add quite a few unique features with their AI edit tool, to make it feel even more realistic or warm. Like, I added a hummingbird to one of mine. You can see it on at the Clean Clothes, my Instagram account. What I love about it is that I'm over it with the photographer produced regular real estate uh videos. They just are boring to me. I don't like the way they transition. I don't like split screens. I don't like any of that. I want something smooth and romantic and kind of gives you a feeling. So that's why adding those features, like whether it's a bird flying in the sky or steam coming out of a teapot or a fire in the fireplace, it just brings the image to life. I love it. Auto Reel app. Got to try it.
Auto
I
Reel
have a
app, I
promo
will.
code for it if you
Yeah.
need it.
We'll put it in the show notes for sure. Courtney Poulos
Okay, cool.
is
Yes.
my guest and the founder and broker owner of Acme Real Estate, which is a boutique brokerage that has thrived in in Los Angeles's ultra competitive real estate market for, 15 years now. And she's recently recognized as a leader by the LA Business Journal. And Courtney built her reputation on a foundation of hands-on broker management, ethical accountability, and organic growth, standing out in an industry increasingly dominated by corporate consolidation. She has very strong opinions about corporate consolidation as well. She's a vocal advocate for industry reform, and Courtney challenges the status quo through her writing on Substack, which is called The Clean Close. We'll have a link to that. Please subscribe to her Substack. And also, for sure, check out her YouTube channel, which is Real Estate AI Coach. She also has The Clean Close. We're going to send you, which is her podcast, which is on YouTube as well. We're going to put all of her links right in the show notes. But she provides unbiased reviews of AI tools and that are currently being marketed to agents. Her unique perspective comes from being both a practicing broker and a critical observer of industry trends, making her a trusted voice for both professionals and consumers. To learn about all things Courtney, go to CourtneyPoulos.com. And again, we'll have all the links to The Clean Clothes, her podcast, and her Instagram, and everything else in her Substack as well. Courtney, welcome.
Wow, that was quite an intro. Thank you so much. I
You
love this. This is so
you do
cool. I think
you do a
this is
lot.
my I do the most. This is my first YouTube live.
I'm excited. Yeah, and that's another thing too. We should tell all of our listeners, if you are somebody, and odds are, according to our stats, you are listening to this with your, headphones in, and maybe you're driving. Obviously, don't do this. But if you are sitting at home listening to this, you can watch these on YouTube. We have Keeping It Real. Just search for it; you'll find it, and we'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. But definitely, we are also simulcasting on Courtney's channel, The Clean Clothes. So check her out, and we will have, well, her channel is really Acme Real Estate. So we will send a link to that. But just search for Courtney Poulos; you'll find her. She's everywhere. Courtney, welcome. So let's get started at the beginning, because I don't know your origin story and where you came from, and why you got into real estate. So tell us how that all happened.
Yeah, sure. So, well, I don't know how far back you want to go, but basically, I'm from State College, Pennsylvania, where Penn State University is. I'm a Nittany Lion. And I had the unique experience of going to college very young. I was like 13 when I started dual
Whoa.
enrollment in college. I know. And I just
Oh,
kind
so
of
you were
rocked
one of
it.
those kids.
I was one of those kids. I think the teachers all realized that my desire to challenge authority um, had to get me out of high school, or I was going to be disruptive. I really
we need
think
to
that's
get
what it
this one
was.
out of here.
Yeah, they're like, she needs to go somewhere where they actually like questions. Because, in high school, there's still an element of sort of like babysitting in the classes. So if you challenge the teacher too much, you get labeled like a trouble student, and then they don't like that. So my gifted ed teacher, she was just Mrs. Giddings. Shout out Mrs. Giddings. So I started dual enrollment at Penn State when I was 13. By the time I was 16, I was full time at University of Maryland, and by the time I was 17, I was working in PR. I was an editor at a fashion magazine. I was working as a waitress. I was also working as the secretary for the Capitol Hill Women's Political Caucus in Washington D.C. I was just doing too much, which is my nature. And I won an award, the Daniel J. Edelman Public Relations Student of the Year Award in 1997. And it took me anywhere in the world I wanted an internship, and I came to LA. And when I got here, I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to leave this place. To be honest, I hadn't even completed college at that time. I since did, but I was moving so fast through life, like I'm working so hard, so young, that coming to LA felt like a great relief. It kind of felt like a place where I could breathe. I became an actor, I was a singer, I had a TV show for a while. And in 2000, and I guess it was around 2004, I met my future ex-husband, and we were like, let's get the heck out of here. And he was a political theorist, kind of like a philosopher. And so he wanted to get his PhD. So we were back in DC. And this is the part that gets a little weird. So after 9 years of basically being my own boss, even though I had to work a billion jobs in order to make a living, I got a job for the federal government at the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration Disaster Technical Assistance Center of the Department of Health and Human Services. Okay.
Okay. You were a Fed.
I was a subcontractor to the feds. And it was the most soul crushing, heartbreaking experience. I hadn't lived that fluorescent light life
Yeah.
for ever, really. And I'm like, they treat us like children. Like, you can't I can't work through my lunch break and leave an hour early. I'm like a child, but I'm an adult, and I did not like it. So I would work really fast. I was efficient at what I did. And my boss came over and she said, Courtney, you're working too fast. We need to bill the government
Slow it
more
down.
hours. And I was like, I can't do this. That was the moment I knew I had to do something else. I went on Craigslist. That was the thing at the time.
Sure.
And I found an assistant job to a realtor. And that is what brought me into real estate in 2005. And it's been a journey. It's been a big journey. And I've learned so many things. Both,
How'd you get back out west?
well,
Or
after
was that the job that you took?
no, after 5 years, I worked 5 years in DC, Maryland, and Virginia. James got his PhD, and we decided to move back to LA. Um, I had a son, and I had no business. And it's actually a funny story that I tell people who are trying to figure out how to get their first client, because I had no business here. I had nothing. I had no clients. I had some people I knew from my previous life in entertainment, but I didn't really know anybody that would know me as a realtor. So there was this one flipper who was doing really cool work, like very editorial, very like, I don't know, he was like staging when nobody else was, and had this very retail surfer vibe about it. His name is Steve Jones, and his company's called Better Shelter. He still does flips. But anyway, I persistently called this guy. I called him over and over again. I made a spreadsheet of all of his acquisition costs and his sales costs. And I tried to predict how much he kind of contributed and what his spread was. So he finally gave me a meeting. And I remember he didn't even look me in the eye in this meeting, which was super awkward. And I said, listen, I've done all this work. I want to be your dedicated agent. I've been selling for 5 years in DC, but I have no clients here. I can dedicate 100% of my effort to finding new projects and to reselling your projects. And I guess that was compelling enough, because one thing that we miss sometimes in real estate is like, what is the client experience? Like,
Hmm.
if he's experiencing 10 or 15 different agents sending him all the same listings, they don't know how to calculate which ones are actually good investments or not. They're not really looking for the same things that he's looking for. He needed somebody to help streamline his hunting experience. And I was there for that. So, that was kind of the beginning of what ultimately ended up becoming Acme, our current brand, my brokerage, which has a niche specialty in renovation resale. So we do work with a lot of really great designers, flippers, to reinvent homes, but in a more editorial way. So if you go on our website and you look at our listings, you can see they all kind of have a certain vibe. That's what we're known for. Even though we don't do the work, we represent the sellers. But I think renovation artists in LA know that they have a home at Acme. Like, we can support them in fit and finish selection, and we know how to source things. We have the right stagers, we have the right photographers. It's an overall kind of experience. And that's been an advantage because, like you said in the intro, we got to compete against the big guys all the time. I'm the little engine that could always, always. But I do think that there's an advantage in that.
I mean, what a cool brand. You're a renovation say that again. What do you call it? A
I coined
renovation
this term. Thank you. Renovation resale.
renovation resale. I mean, that is
Yeah.
I have never heard of somebody branding to that particular niche, and it's brilliant because who doesn't want that on a property that's, however many years old would qualify, and a lot of properties obviously would. And what a cool and then you probably don't have any other brokerages that are that hyper focused. And so that probably
No,
just
there,
helps
there
you
really
from a
aren't.
branding perspective. Just oh my gosh, what a cool idea.
Thanks. I mean, it's a here's the thing that I've learned. Okay, I've seen other people, our brochures are like, everybody loves them. Like, uh, people walk in and they're like, wow, you guys do such beautiful marketing. I'm like, yeah, we do, because I believe that real estate's like a tactile experience.
Yeah.
That's when it's like you can have a digital QR code sign in. I'm like, no, I want the interaction moment with the person when I ask them to sign in, even though sometimes lately it turns into almost a fist fight. But I still need you to know that I need you to sign in. And if you give me some kind of scribble scrabble, it's my moment to interact with you as a human. Like, I can't read this, John. Are you trying to give me a fake name? Like, that's my moment to show you my humanity. And the
Yeah.
more digitized things get, the
Mhm.
fewer, options there are for that. So yeah. So anyway, my point in the story is I've seen at other people's open houses, like, they take our brochure and they try to make it, or people have. I've built a lot. I say built, like, a lot of people have built their staging brands on our back, or people have stolen clients, like, whatever, it's all good, but it certainly keeps us on our toes. And the one thing that we just never compromise on is the amount of money that we spend on our clients. We spend thousands more, especially in markets like these where people are pulling back because the market's slower. We don't pull back. We still do the full scale marketing press. And we just know that our commitment to the client experience is higher than some of our competition. I hate to say it like that because it sounds so whatever, but we've also gotten feedback. The feedback seems to be from people who come to us like, I felt like my agent wasn't listening to me.
Right.
And I think that's something we all have to, like, check ourselves on. So the reason why I'm not like a grow the brokerage type of brokerage is because quality can go out the window when there's no broker to really manage the
Yeah.
training. And I'm a very hands-on broker, as in I'm here for all the questions, and I run a training program at Acme too. So yeah.
I no, I totally understand that, and as somebody who runs a larger size brokerage with hundreds and hundreds of agents, I will tell you that is one of our challenges is not to be seen as a big brokerage there are somebody's just a number, and it is a battle because we have over 700 agents here, and like that's cool for us from a revenue perspective, but we have to make each one of those agents feel so incredibly special, which is tough. And a lot of those agents thankfully are so self-sufficient that they really don't need so much from us. But those newer agents or the ones that are looking for that development, like we actually have it, but it is hard to sell that to somebody who's not currently a Kale agent, because they might go, well, how can you guys possibly do that with so many agents? And it's like, oh no, I know it sounds like we can't, we actually can, but that's the challenge, right? And so you're at a brokerage which is, at the right size for what you do. And you're right, quality does get questioned, right, when you get to a certain size. So I love the
Yeah,
fact that
and
you're.
sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say every market's different, you know.
Totally.
I will say I recently on one of my clean clothes podcasts interviewed this guy named Parker, very cool guy from a company called Housewell, and his company has a niche of selling to flippers, selling for flippers, I guess, at some kind of a discount. It's a discount brokerage model,
Hmm.
right? And I challenged him on the podcast. I'm like, why would you um, create something where the agents are getting paid a third of what they normally would pay? I'm like, are you not training your agents? He's like, no, we use a third party. We use Show Me for the showings. I'm
Sure.
like, but how do you quality control that? Like, how do you know that that agent knows how to host an open house? I'm
Right.
just going to put this out there, okay? For a client, for a buyer, if a buyer walks into an open house, they have an experience at that open house. You cannot underestimate the value of the agent interaction at an open house. It's how most new agents get their new clients. And it's one of these few moments that we have in human life where you actually get to engage with a human being in person that maybe you've never met yet, maybe that wasn't referred to you. So you get to care a little bit more about somebody else. So the reason why I'm saying that is because we do a secret shopper experiment at Acme. Every
Mhm.
time we do a training session, I send agents out into the field. The trainees go out and they go to open houses. And if the person asks them, "Are you an agent?" they have to say yes, right? But if the
Sure.
person doesn't even engage with them, doesn't ask them to sign in, doesn't ask them their name, doesn't ask if they're an agent or a neighbor or a buyer, whatever, we make a note of it. So we're keeping stats on this. They each go to like 4 open houses and come back. So sometimes I have like 30 open house, 30 open houses at all different price points and data points in the city to see how the open house agent is performing.
Yeah.
And it's really underwhelming. It's really underwhelming. Like probably 7 out of 10 times the agent doesn't ask the buyer to sign in. So I'm
Crazy.
like, how are you getting feedback if this doesn't sell? Like in a market like this, we have to do follow up. And I have to be able to say to my seller, people think it's overpriced or they think the backyard's not usable or something. I need to give them some feedback. If you don't have people signing in, how are you going to give them that?
Well,
So that,
even if you don't care about that, which you should, don't you want the lead? Like, no matter what, you would want the
that part
lead.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that part too. Of course, the lead's important. I always think when I'm there selling the house, I'm there to sell that
Sure.
house, right? I'm
For
there
sure.
in my seller's stead. If the seller's neighbor comes in, I want that neighbor to come in and be like, wow, Courtney really was doing a thing. She wasn't there
Treated you
just
like a
picking up
buyer.
buyer
Yeah.
lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was selling the house. She pointed out unique features or like, characteristics of the home or the neighborhood or whatever. I want every single agent to have a confidence in that environment that would stand the test of the seller's best friend coming in and
Yes.
reviewing them, right?
Yep.
But
I love
if the
that.
buyer says, it's just too small for me, or, it's just not right, then yes, of course, you want that buyer lead, of course. But the art of sales is not in my ability to sell. It's
Right.
in the client's ability or desire to trust me, that
Right.
I know more about them. I know more about the process of buying than they do, I should say. I know
I,
more about their experience they're about to have than they do, and I can guide them. I'm trustworthy. And that does not come from being on your cell phone, from being like, any questions? Like we're working as a receptionist at a
right.
juice bar. Like that ain't it. It is not it.
It.
So I have I know that some places in America have a lot of discount brokerages or a lot of flat fee agents. And
Yeah.
maybe there are places there where quality control becomes a little less important. In LA, it's the NFL of real estate. We are competing with people who have high volume deals, even though that's just location based. That's like, which part of town did you start working on? But I digress. And then, they have a big social following. Some people are famous, some people are on TV shows. It's competitive. It's like you got to know your stuff backwards and forwards, or you really can't make it here.
Well, what I'm hearing is I couldn't agree more with everything you said because what we're really talking about is intentionality and like really thinking about the experience. And I think that is the place where you start and end is like the client experience. So, for example, I'm in
Yeah.
the process of redeveloping our recruiting website for realtors that may want to join us, right? And
Okay.
I would always focus on transparency with our pricing, with our commissions, and I thought that was the most honest and authentic way to go. And it really is in a certain sense. But what I wasn't thinking about was what is the experience that for the agent avatar that we want? Like,
Right.
forget about what DJ thinks is the most authentic and honest. What do they want? What's actually most important to them? And what we found, since I'm not a practicing agent, I mean, I have a license, but I don't use it. But what we found is even though I know hundreds and if not thousands of agents, that what I thought they wanted was not what they wanted to see. And
Ah,
so, what they wanted to see was more about culture and more about the development. Like, how do you actually help us grow? Because everyone says they'll help you. They have great training, great support. But what do you actually do? They're willing to pay whatever the fees and commissions are. They don't care. Now, some people do care, and those people, that's great too. But for the people that we really want, that's not their primary driver. It's not cost. We just thought like, that'd be cool. Let's put our pricing and our commissions on there. And we did that for years and years. And that got us to a certain
right.
number. And then we finally went, wait a minute. Why are we not getting this next level of agent? We went, oh, because they don't want that. They don't care. They want the development. And so we
Yeah.
had to listen to them. So now I'm redesigning our site. And I'd really love to get feedback on it from anybody, whether you're in our market or not. I'm not using this as a recruiting pitch, but check it out at joinkale.com. I have removed all the pricing and now it's literally just here's how we develop you. And this will hopefully attract a different type of agent because of course we're always looking to grow and expand as well. And so I totally but that's what I had to do is I had to literally do the research and look into what do agents actually care about. And you do this the same thing with open houses. Like, so what you're saying makes all the sense in the world is you want the experience. And
Right.
what is a good experience? We all know what it's like when you walk onto a car lot, whether it's a luxury lot or more more affordably priced, and that salesperson comes walking over, you're like, oh god, just
Uh-huh.
be
Doesn't even
somebody
have
who
to
I'd
be a
want
car
to.
lot.
Yeah,
It's a
just like
retail shop. It's a clothing store.
exactly
Can I
same
help
thing.
you with anything? You're like, no, I'm just looking. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
want to talk to you. I don't want to be sold your bullshit. I don't want any of that.
we just had
That's
we're
our
moving
natural instinct.
we're selling I'm selling my condo right now and moving into a different place. And so this morning, just a few hours ago, I was interviewing my fiance and I were interviewing floor people because we have to do repair. We have to rip up carpeting and put hardwood in. And anyway, so we had two different people come. They were both seemingly probably the same as far as their abilities, but one was really gave us this experience that made us think they cared a little bit more. They were like, because
Hmm.
he would say, well, here's what I would do. Not just like what you want. Like he asked us that too. And then he said, I'm going to give you some advice. Like, this is what you should do. And I'm not trying to upsell you. Here's why I'm telling you to do it. And again, it sounds like, well, everybody should do that, but everybody doesn't. And like you were saying with the 7 out of 10 go to open house, I don't even think they think about the experience. They just go, well, I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to, have some, you know, food or drinks or whatever. I'll have some flyers and I'm
Right.
nice. And but they're
Right.
not really thinking about from the moment they walk in, what's that first impression? And
Exactly.
what are the smells and the sights and
All
how
of
do you
that.
yeah,
All of
it's
that.
so important.
Oh
And
my gosh, it's so
yeah.
important. It's
So yeah, crafting an
the
experience. Yeah.
crafting an experience. That's kind of what we strive to do every time, and what people do know us to do. And but I have a question for you about the recruitment thing.
Mm.
What's a red flag for you in the recruitment interview? Like, what is something that you ask them and they give you this answer, and then no, you're not right for us.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I would say for people that are like super price focused, that want like the highest commission, lowest fee, and
Hmm.
just are or asking for leads, or people that are looking for the brokerage to really solve their problem, which if it's a development problem, great, we can do that. And if it's a pricing problem, if you have a low commission split, yeah, we could probably beat it. But if you're too focused on that, I get a little nervous because then I think,
Mm,
well, you're going to leave and go to the person because we don't have the highest. I mean, there's somebody's got higher commissions, I'm sure, and lower fees, and
right,
so we're not going to be that. And also too, it's just somebody who's I just as long as somebody's like, I always ask, what do you expect from a brokerage? Like, what do you actually need the brokerage to do for you? Because
right.
everybody has different needs. And it's like, okay, we can do that or we can't do that. So it's more about me getting clear about what they actually
What they
think we should
want.
do. Yeah. And
Right, right,
figuring it out, can we actually deliver at that? Because if we don't deliver on what they think we should be delivering, then they're going to leave anyway. And so
right,
it's really important for us to get super hyper focused on that before they come in. So it's not even so much about red flags because we're really lucky in that sense where we just don't really get a lot of bozos that come through, but we certainly get people who are looking for things that I have to like sniff out and go, oh, we don't do that, because it'd be much easier just to be like, totally, just come on board, we'll take care of it. And then, think down the road, oh, we don't really want to deal with that because we only have so many staff here. There's 12 of us, but there's 700 agents. Like we have to be
right.
really, really, mindful. So it's about the experience though. And I want somebody to come in and go, I know DJ told me exactly how it's going to work. He explained the onboarding. And then he talked about retention, like how he's going to make sure, and not me so much, but we have somebody in retention. Their job is to make sure that you're happy so that you stay. We pay that person to make sure you're happy. So he's going to be checking in with you and make sure that you're having a good experience here. So again, we're on the same page
Right.
with that. I want to talk about some industry news and just get a couple of quick takes
Oh.
from you, because right now, Compass and Zillow are battling heads, battling each other, and other loggerheads, I guess, with the private listing network, and
Mhm.
it's very interesting to see what Compass I think is trying to do, and what Zillow is trying to hold on to. And I'm curious to see if you have a take on how brokers should think about that, and then
Mhm.
where do you think it's headed?
These are all very provocative questions. Well, here's the thing. Like, okay, Zillow, I starting again at kind of like the beginning of this. When clear cooperation policy was announced, I was like, this is a very poorly thought out policy.
Yeah,
And the reason why I hated it, it's not because of the mandatory entry piece, it was because it had this little loophole for office exclusives. Now, pocket listings are not against the law in most states, at least not in California. So it's not that they didn't exist before, but now all of the sudden, Compass, who had the foresight to create something that they could potentially use as a marketing advantage in a very competitive market when people were, it was 2% interest rates and 40 offers on the table and people are going crazy and they just want inventory that's not available yet. Blah, blah, blah. It would like hit a a nerve, a demand. Okay. And office exclusives, in case you don't know, are not really office exclusives, it's brokerage exclusives.
right.
So in the state of California, if Compass has one broker, it could have that office exclusive network, could be the entire state of California's private listings. And now with the Compass Anywhere merger, that could obviously take over. And he said publicly that that's the intention, to give sellers the choice to market how they want. Refkin also said very publicly to NAR, I'm not abiding by this policy, and I'm not going to make my agents abide
Yeah,
by it either. And I was like waiting for a response because much like the insanity of the COVID era, they actually had agents trying to police agents. Like our local association had like a tips line. If you see somebody marketing a pocket listing, report them. So, for a boutique brokerage, like we have 35 agents, we're not 8,000 agents. It doesn't even make sense for us to have a pocket listing network.
sure.
So, but also, does it even make sense for sellers to
Well,
utilize
that
this?
that's
Who
that's the real
wins?
question. Yeah,
Who wins? Right, exactly. So I just find it really, really rich that if you read the text of these lawsuits, that essentially Compass is saying, I can't believe Zillow doesn't want our listings publicly promoted, when the whole reason why they're not publicly promoted is because your seller, and you sold the seller on this idea of a not publicly promoted listing. The hypocrisy in it is just too much for me to bear. And when you see people jumping on other sides of it, as it's almost like the government shutdown, where if you're listening to MSNBC, you would think it was one side that did it. If you're listening to podcasters or something, you would think it's the other side that did it. And if you sit down at a table with somebody who's only listening to one side of this argument, you guys will never come to any kind of an agreement.
That's
Even
fair.
right now, there's a very interesting conversation happening about the 50-year mortgage concept. Okay. I would love to know your thoughts on it. I'm having some initial thoughts on it, but Glenda Baker, who's a very famous Instagram video realtor, I've met her a few times. Lovely lady. She speaks at a ton of events. She's kind of the spearhead of agent social media mavens, right? Like she's just, she sits in her car, she does a video, it gets thousands and thousands of views and tons of engagement because people want to know what she has to say. So she posted something on it saying that this is a scam, this is a trash idea. There were even some agents at my company reposting and saying like, "Look, it's a scam, it's a scam." And I'm like, "Okay, okay. I I understand why it makes zero sense for anyone to hold a 50-year note, right?
Sure.
From a calculating the interest if you held that note the entire length of the loan type way, right? I get that. And I can even see how, if you're thinking with that same thinking cap, an FHA loan could be predatory as well.
Sure.
3% down, higher interest rate, mortgage insurance is, and lower credit score. I know the credit score thing is another thing that's going out the window, but at the time when I bought my first place, when I didn't think I could ever buy a place, the idea of actually owning a home felt so outside like my family's situation, and I didn't think I could do it. Okay. It was that first lady I ended up working for, Polly, who said to me, Courtney, you can do this. You can do this. Where there's a will, there's a way. This is the type of loan you should get. And she was like, just see if you qualify. And that was how, by hook or by crook, I ended up buying my very first place. And that I then sold for a profit and turned and bought another place and sold that. And, it ultimately started my real estate ownership career. Without that little, uh, that type of loan, that low down payment loan with the lower credit score requirement and, that opportunity, I couldn't have done it.
Sure.
So my point of view on it is it's not going to be for everybody, okay? Of course not. And it shouldn't be. Of course not. This is, in my opinion, potentially a creative short-term solution like an ARM, like
Yeah.
an adjustable rate
Hmm.
mortgage that has a fixed rate for 7 years. Like, for example, ARMs in our market are lower interest rate than 30-year conventionals, right? So for people who are having trouble qualifying because of the interest rate, using an ARM, when you know that on a 30-year conventional loan, the first 10 years are heavily interest loaded. That's also what you get your mortgage interest deduction on. Okay. You can do an ARM, a 7-1 ARM, lock in your 7 years, look at the amortization schedule on a 30-year conventional loan, calculate the amount of principal that is applied each year, and make a principal payment during the life of your ARM each year to match the 30-year. So then you do have a principal reduction, even if it's an interest only ARM, and you're getting your tax write off, and you can refinance into a conventional loan when your financial position is better and whatever. The advantage of a 50-year versus a 7-year in this scenario is that if you lose your job or your earning power goes down, you still have a consistent lower monthly
Yeah.
interest rate. Now, if you're renting, we know that's 100% loss. You might as well just count it as a 100% loss. No tax break, no
Right.
appreciation, nada, nothing. So if you're comparing a program that could potentially get somebody in versus a program that will keep them perpetually a renter, and you think perpetually a renter is a better idea, then you're not following the hedge funds, the private equity, the people who are committed to making a nation of renters a subscription-based economy where they don't even think they want to own. And that is the problem. I'm like any smart, creative person who's ever been poor. knows that if you need to buy cheese, if you need to buy a thing, you figure out how to do it. You know what I
Yeah.
did when I was little? I sold bookmarks that I taped. I thought I was laminating them door to door for 25 cents. I sold cards, Olympic cards and gifts door to door when I was 8 years old because I needed a backpack. So if you don't understand that where there's a will, there's a way, sometimes you got to do what you got to do in order to get in the door. And then once you're in the door, you got to put your brain to use. And it's there's something about it, the conversation that almost makes it feel political. And I'm like,
Yeah.
why is this political? I'm an advocate for home ownership. I'm also a person who came from nothing and understands the value of home ownership and what it's done for me in my life. So when I see like this lady today on the comments, you can go to the Glenda Bigger post. She was like, this is the, I said something I'm very calm, like about it, even though I'm passionate about home ownership. I also haven't figured it all out. Like, I don't think I've sorted through, I understand the foreclosure risk. I heard one person talking about the appraisals, that they might be more stringent with the appraisals because you kind of need to guarantee that it's in a market where the market's appreciating in order
Sure.
for it to not cause foreclosures. I don't understand all the nuances and ins and outs. I'm sure people will be discussing them, but in the spirit of having conversation, which by God, I'm an American, right? And also an advocate for home ownership and also somebody who benefited from creative financing and probably FHA. I mean, it was pre 2008. So you could potentially call that predatory lending. There's no real reason why anybody should give anybody a loan with 3% down, right? But
Right.
it got me in. But it got me in.
Yeah.
So when I see she said something like, "You must be the most ignorant person I've ever met. This is total bullshit. These people are going to go into foreclosures. It's going to create a whole crisis." And I'm like, "Okay, I hope you have a better day because we're just having a conversation here. I'm just throwing it out there because people seem to be so animated that it's a whole con that that maybe they're not looking at all sides of it, and that's all. I mean, it could be a con, right? Like a 50-year mortgage, what's the benefit? Lower monthly payment, bank makes more money. Guess how much
Sure.
your credit card interest rate is? 22%. So what we're talking about, 6%, but you're going to have an appreciating asset. You're going to have a tax write-off. You're going to have the value of home ownership, which improves culture, society, civilization writ large. Like the advantages of not renting
Yeah.
way outweigh
Oh,
the
and you're
the
not
high
holding
cost
it
of
for
interest.
50. You're not holding it for
You're
50
never
years.
gonna hold it for, of course not.
You're holding it for 5 to 7 years most likely.
That's it.
Yeah, and it's
That's it.
probably not for, somebody a retiree. This is for people starting out, and yeah,
Exactly.
they're gonna pay a bunch more in interest over time,
Right.
and we get it, but at least it gets them in the door,
That's
and
it.
that, it's interesting, and,
It's
uh
interesting. I think the coupling of the removal of the credit score, I think that's also a piece that makes it suspicious a little bit. It's like,
yeah,
listen, nobody wants another crisis. Like, I'm very invested in real estate. I do not want to see another crisis. I don't want to see a bunch of people in foreclosure. I don't want that. But when people make the argument like this, some people are making on the Instagram post, like, what if somebody loses their job? I'm like, well, you could lose your job today and get kicked out of your apartment. You could lose your job and not be able to pay your 30-year conventional mortgage as well. Like, I don't think that really matters as much. Oh, my earplug just fell out. I don't really think that's the concern.
and the
I
other
think
thing
people
too
don't.
the other
Yeah.
thing too is, and I don't mean to say anything super controversial, but what I will say is, in my experience in life, and I am not saying that look, I've been laid off where I was a really good employee and I had just gotten a perfect
Mhm.
review and they just needed to cut costs and I was an expensive guy at the company and they let me go and it
Right.
was terrible. And but I've been fired at places too where I didn't do a good job. So I've had both
Right.
experiences. I've also been at this job for 15 years and hopefully we'll continue here. But my point is that if you're really good at your job and you get laid off or you get fired or whatever, you should be able to find work. And if you can't find work pretty
Listen,
quickly,
that's a
I hate to say this,
mentality though,
like, yeah,
DJ. That is a mentality.
you have to build your skill set because really good
Yes.
painters, really good plumbers, good dentists, you find that they never really have a problem getting clients because
I was
they
telling my 16-year-old the same thing. I'm like, look, if you don't want to go to college for, computer science, which is going to be replaced by AI in a minute, why not get a trade? Why
yeah,
not learn a trade? We need VOTEC back in our high schools. I'm a huge fan. And plus, how many times have you had something leaking, or like your sink is leaking, or your washing machine is leaking, or you know, your car something, and you're like, darn it, I wish I had a mechanic in the family. I wish I had a plumber
yeah.
in the family so I didn't have to outsource this. I mean, we need to bring that back. I'm,
Well,
I'm a big fan of that.
the mechanic is such a great point because when you find a mechanic that you trust, you'd never ever question what they recommend going forward. When all of a sudden
Right.
you're like, "Oh, like or a good doctor or a good attorney or a good accountant or whatever, good hairstylist,
Right.
whatever it is." I have taken a lot of time to assemble really quality service people in my life, whatever their job is. And so now I don't have to think about it anymore. And I hold on to those people. And again, look, people get laid off and it's terrible. And I'm not suggesting it's anybody's fault for getting laid off. It happens. It's happened to me. And but I do know that if you're really skilled and if you're not, you can get skilled. And now we have just
Hmm.
access to information where YouTube will teach you pretty much anything you need to know
Yeah.
anyway, and it's free. But like you can get better at your job, and it is not crowded along that extra mile, like you were saying about the open houses. When people tell me open houses don't work, I'm like, oh no, I interview people, top agents all over the country for the last 7 years. Every single one of them tells me open houses work, but you say it doesn't. So it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? And then you find out they're not really hosting an open house. They're just they're just doing it, but they're not really intentionally putting it. And it's like, well, yeah, it's
Right.
not going to work for you. And it's
Right.
all about just building your skill set. If you build your skill set, as also with AI. So I think about this a lot because I think the lower quality realtors, and I don't mean lower quality that they're just not putting in the time. Maybe they have another career, or maybe they're just helping out a friend or family member once in a while, and that's great if you want to do that. But I think your days are it's going to be tougher for you because AI is going to solve for a lot of the things you can do. But the really good agents, everybody I know right now who's a really good agent is thriving. They're crushing it, and it's amazing. It's like because they know what they're doing and they care and they build their skill set. And that's
Oh
like
my
that's
God. I
all.
got to tell you something, though. I got to tell you this thing. I'm sure you've noticed. I'm sure everybody's noticed it. But like, on my podcast at Clean Clothes, we go over real estate news headlines. We talk about the articles, talk about both sides of the scenario. I'm trying to do it like like a news editorial style
Point
podcast,
counterpoint.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I also have opinions about this. So I declare, like what this little engine that could has to say about it, and invite people to challenge me if they want to, or agree or whatever. But I've noticed uh, so many, like I follow LinkedIn is where it's at for real estate drama, in my
Oh,
humble
sure, for
opinion. Like
sure.
it's like there it's so underestimated. I try to tell my agent friends who are like reality television junkies, and like that are agents, you love this, like get in here because this is the most underexposed, uh catty, drama filled, whatever.
Because
Okay.
what's great about it is that's where realtors can go where their clients aren't going to see these posts,
Aren't
only
gonna
other
see it.
agents. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's also I don't understand the algorithm. I have zero idea why it decides to show me what it shows me.
Yeah, it's
Like,
weird.
I really don't know. I feel like I see the same 5 people over and over again, or maybe those are the only 5 people posting on LinkedIn. Like, nobody uses it, but some people do. And the ones that do are very opinionated. But what I'm starting to see is clearly ChatGPT written post content that's supposed to have an opinion, but the way it's written is really weird. And it's obviously ChatGPT. And I'm like, no, this is where you have to draw the line with AI. Once it takes your actual voice as an authority, then we have a problem. You have a problem. Like AI is amazing for data analysis, but you still have to check it. Make sure that it doesn't source publications that don't exist, create bureaus that don't exist, phone numbers, even quotes. Like ChatGPT creates quotes to justify the opinion you're trying to make it have that are not sourceable. Like you have to be careful with that. And it can't, I saw one gal advising people, it can like review the legal language in your
Ooh,
contract for you. I'm
be
like,
careful.
do not do that. In fact, this week I'm going to have a DRE compliance person on the show to talk about the mistakes that agents are using while early adopting AI that
Yeah.
could potentially be either a violation of licensing law or could open them up to litigation, because there is a danger in adopting this too fast. But certainly it's good for what it is good for: data analysis, in investigating, like, putting things together. You uploaded a bunch of spreadsheets and it can organize stuff, in a way that's amazing. But when it comes to the human components of our job, our opinion, our voice, and even the guidance that we would give to our clients, the psychology, the connection, we cannot surrender that. And when I see it, I'm just like, no, not you too, please, not you too.
Yeah, I
It's
think
disappointing because you can read it and you're like, that's Chat GPT's voice. The dude might agree. The guy might agree. He obviously posted it, so he does agree with what Chat GPT decided the framing of this conversation was. Ah,
we see it with listing descriptions, and
yep,
if you're just throwing it in there and saying make this more appealing to XYZ type of buyer, you are going to get a very similar listing description from everybody else that's doing it, which is most
yeah,
agents, and everything looks the same and everything reads the same, and it's
right.
just
Seamlessly blends.
yeah,
Modern, built, crafted for modern living. I mean, it has these key phrases nestled in the blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
There's a lot there, but I do think that, everybody's kind of playing around with it, trying to figure out where it matters, where it doesn't. Like, do buyers care? Do they care when they read this? How many listings are they looking at? And
right,
if they're mostly looking at images and they're picking up the valuable information from the description, but not really looking at the artistic writing of the
right.
description, maybe buyers don't care. In fact, I'd be curious to poll your audience to see how many buyers are in the audience that actually read the MLS descriptions or read
That's a
the
good
Redfin
point.
description.
It probably
I mean,
nobody. Probably people
for
aren't
us,
reading
it's
it.
like it's
Yeah.
an art. For us, it's like writing our listing descriptions an art. I used to train the agents on this. I had a whole structure, and it's about the experience and like something that you walk up and you feel that's visceral, like, as you traipse through the garden, and like it should feel like the moment of walking up to the front door. Now it's just like, I don't even know if people have the attention span. They just look at the pictures. It's cute. I want to go. You
It's the
know,
one place where we can kind of be creative, so I think that's why it, like, makes us feel, that we're putting our little signature on it, and within
right.
the industry, we do care, but you're right, does the public really read it? Probably not.
I
Yeah,
don't know. I want to know though. I think there needs to be data on this. I just
for
don't really
sure.
have the data to know.
Well, I mean, I don't
Um,
think people are reading much of anything, so I think that's a big
There
problem.
could be that too. There could be
I
that.
mean
I mean, listen, we're scrolling, right? And like the hunt has now, one thing in the democratization of the data, which is another thing we can talk about with this MLS, although I'm sure our time is almost up. But, you know, I've heard, and Parker brought it up from Housewell on our call as a potential future of like an open source MLS.
mm,
Um, I think I might have cracked the code, DJ. Check this out.
tell me.
Listen to this idea. Are you ready for this? I want a nationwide off market open source listing service. Okay.
Okay.
So it's just for agents. It's not for
Public
agents of
never
a
sees it.
particular brokerage. It's just for agents and it's off markets.
Okay.
So something like, I'm sure you remember the PLS,
Sure.
which got a lawsuit, antitrust lawsuit. They're still involved in this lawsuit right now, which was the private listing service or something, pocket listing service.
Mhm.
Um, and now it's changed to another name. But people haven't really been using it because of the threat of lawsuits and all of this stuff. But if what I think could happen in the future happens, as in, if NAR threatens Compass and all the Anywhere brands or whatever, Compass brands now, I guess, with anything, which I don't know that they will do because they've been largely silent throughout this entire
Yes.
experience. Okay, strikingly silent, like pin drop silent. Um, but if Compass and the rest of the brands decide to pull out of NAR so that they can be rid of the responsibilities of clear cooperation and all of this antitrust crap, if they can do that, then it's possible that even more spotlight will be put on whether or not we need the MLS system the way
For
that it
sure.
currently is. So
100%.
if we all didn't have to abide by the current system, and there was an open source nationwide pocket listing network that we could all put our pockets in so that we are at least marketing to agents outside of our brokerage. And in that way, a small brokerage like me could market my off market, because it's not against the law to have an off market, to somebody at a large brokerage and vice versa. There's no distinct disadvantage to a client of a smaller firm if they choose to market off market, which again, the seller choice thing is the thing ref can keep saying over and over again that I a little bit call bullshit on, but whatever, let's say it's true, right?
So how do
Seller
you
says, I want to market off this off market, we have that one, all agents in America can access that, right? But it's not on Trulia, it's not on Redfin, it's not on Zillow.
Gotcha. So,
if
and
Z-
who manages it? Who's the owner of it?
well,
Who
my thought is similar to how we currently have legal liability for the accuracy of our information by virtue of our DRE license, right?
Mhm.
If there is no managing organization, so to speak, if it more serves as an aggregator that I manually enter information in, then I myself am responsible for the information that's in there,
So if
which
you
as a broker, I am.
so if you
I
put
already
in
am.
what about fraud? You put in bogus information. Who
But you're a
what happens?
licensee. Anybody could report you to the DRE and be like,
Got
that
it.
person,
So you're
you know what I
still
mean?
under it's a self-reporting system if people basically are doing unethical things in there,
Well,
other
you still
agents
have
will see it.
what would be unethical about entering your listing that's
Just
not currently on Zillow?
lying about what's on the listing.
But if you are a licensee, you can't lie without there being potential consequences. I mean,
Right,
I
right.
think
No, I'm
our
just saying who
license,
polices it. Yeah. Okay.
that's
All
what I'm
right.
saying. I do think that there is
Oh, you're right.
we
I mean,
need
you
to,
can't do it.
we,
You right.
we
It
can't
doesn't
do it
even matter.
now.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't
I
do it
don't need
now.
the MLS to police me. In fact, I don't even know when the MLS got policing authority. I think it was with the settlement, because prior to that, the MLS in and of itself, at least in California, is already flawed. The data entry is wrong. Some
Yeah.
people change their listings to pending right away and it stops the days on market count. Some people leave it as looking what is used to be looking for backup and is now active contingent, and it keeps the day count rolling. So when you're looking at days on market, the data is wrong. Also, all the off markets are only sometimes entered in the MLS when somebody wants to for comp purposes. So it's not like it's tied into the tax records. Now,
Yeah.
a lot of agents are taking the pictures off. So there's only
Right.
one exterior picture. I can't even see if it's a comp anymore because I can't see any of the interior pictures.
Yeah.
So there are issues already with our MLS, but our profession needs to stop acting like little babies and start acting like the highly trained professionals that we are, and make sure that we are behaving as such. And if we are not, just like currently right now to this moment, if I enter incorrect information into the MLS on my blog, on my social, anywhere else, somebody could report me to the DRE. I honestly don't think the ML, I tried this private. Have you heard of this new delayed entry thing?
No.
This was the MLS's, or rather the NAR's solution to the private listing problem.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of a media in the middle, right? You still have to put it in the MLS, but instead of putting it out right away, which was the
Yeah, you
previous
can delay it,
mandate,
right.
you can delay it. Okay. So I do that. First time I've ever done that. I just did it for a really great listing in Granada Hills, guys. I mean, designer, top of the line, so incredible. It's a it's a large property with a lot of detail, a lot of design detail. 10 photos they allow us. I'm like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah,
Why would you only
that's
allow
tough.
me 10 photos? It's like punitive.
It
I'm
is
like, you just
punitive.
really, it is. So so when it comes to the Zillow thing, when this policy first came out, when this there are no off market
Yeah.
listings policy came out, I was like, finally, finally, because 85% of home buyers look on Zillow, right?
100,
We
yes,
know
everybody.
most sellers want their house on Zillow. You want your house on Zillow so it reaches the buyers. They have mastered that platform. NAR dropped the ball when they didn't create a different rule book for the hybrid portal. That
Yep,
is what I think.
yep.
It came up for all of us. We were watching it happen. They're advertising our listings, they're selling our leads, they're using our data. MLSs are getting paid. We're pissed off. We're vocalizing it. Nobody wants to hear it. Okay. This was the beginning of my barking career. Okay. I'm like the little guy, always the little guy, you know? I spent a lot of money on these images, but I knew I wasn't the only one. I knew everybody kind of felt this way, right? So Zillow's been the bad guy. And then finally, in the past couple years, now they have to disclose who the listing agent is. Now people kind of are getting the memo about how things work, and Zillow ups the game. But I went to NAR and I said, listen, this isn't fair. This loophole creates an imbalance in the way that clear cooperation is executed. And I don't think it's great for the consumer that that imbalance is there. And it's certainly not great for, you're supposed to represent all of us, right? Not just the big guys. So I'm a dues paying member too. I don't think this is fair. And they were like, there's really nothing we can do. I had a whole committee there. They hired a new vice president of industry relations. He kind of turned it over to the MLS committee guy, and they were kind of like, "Listen, we can't really do anything about this because of antitrust laws." And I'm like,
Right.
"I don't even know how that conceptually works, but this is what they're telling me." So then Zillow does it, and I was like, "Yes, finally, Zillow's doing what NAR could not do, or didn't have the
Yeah.
balls to do, or I don't even know what they're doing it."
Well, and they're standing up for it because they actually believe it's the right thing to do.
Right. And so I'm like, NAR should be on the side of Zillow because Zillow is enforcing the clear cooperation policy,
Yeah.
which again, I have a major issue with, but at least everybody has to play by the same rules, supposedly, But then again, this loophole is the problem with it because there is a loophole. So Compass is playing by the same rules by creating the private listing network per the loophole. And it's the pot calling the kettle black 100%. And I think it's kind of interesting to see these people fighting and then know what's happening down here is this working group I don't know if you saw this news headline, but there's a working group of brokerage owners, CEOs who basically went to NAR and said, we need to make some changes. And they're secret. They're secret. United Real Estate is Duffy is the only one who's actually come out vocally, but there are articles about what their demands were, one of which was getting rid of clear cooperation policy, which NAR for some reason has just been reluctant to do, even though it's caused all of these problems.
Yeah.
So what's boiling down here is who gets access to the client first and how.
Yeah.
Like I think the listing data on some level is going to be democratized. Like I don't think the private listing is going to work for sellers, at least in a market like this right now. I don't know why you wouldn't want maximum exposure when things are
Un
a little
un
harder to
unless
sell.
you're yeah, unless you're a celebrity or you need privacy, but even then, it
Exactly.
doesn't really make sense, but okay, fine, yeah.
Right. It doesn't. Yeah. I mean, that's why my idea of the national listing network
Yep.
to cover to cover the off market thing, and then if we had an open source MLS, then we really wouldn't need MLS either. I mean, you
It'd
could
almost be
choose.
similar to how we trade Bitcoin in a sense, like, Bitcoin is not regulated, and it can be used in nefarious ways, of course, to launder money and things like that, but at the very least, anyone can have access to it. It's not really policed. It's kinda self-policed, and if people are doing nefarious things, then government agencies can try to figure out what's going on, but it is open source, right? And so there is a version of this that could be an MLS, a private listing or
I
non-MLS.
mean,
Yeah,
right, or at least in a compromise, make one MLS per state. Just
that
one
would be
MLS per
nice.
state. Wouldn't that be great? Because we all sell in multiple different parts of our state. It's a state license, one MLS per state, and an open source private listing network that's for nationwide realtors. And we can all search on that. And there you go. Now Zillow gets its listings that are on the MLS. We have the right to sell our clients' houses off market if we want to. This would be only, though, if NAR would back off clear cooperation, which they're not even enforcing anymore anyway, which is good. But then when I saw in that article about the working group that in 2022, NAR had like $2 billion in the bank,
Yeah.
and they have a private capital for profit group. Did you know that? It's
No.
called Second Century Ventures. Who knew? I've been a member of NAR for 20 years. I had no idea. But what this working group is saying is like, you guys are going to continually be hit with lawsuits because you have too much money in the bank. Give us our money back.
Yeah.
That's basically what they said. Give us a rebate. Give us our money back.
Every year we ask, and by the way, I'm in Chicago. This is where it's headquartered, and I actually go into that building quite not that that's important, but I go into that building a lot because the local association, which I volunteer at, is there, and I don't really ever see NAR because they're on different floors. But we reach out to them. I'm fairly known here in Chicago, at least to the NAR people who uh, may be familiar with the show who work in this area, and they have people that work all over the country. But my point is every year we go to them and say, hey, we want to talk to you guys. And every year they just ignore us. And I don't understand. Like, I get it. You're busy. I'm not Inman. That's fine. But I've got a
Right.
pretty big audience for getting
Right.
your point across. And all of my audience are members. So wouldn't you like to speak directly to members and say, here's what we're doing, here's what we're up to? I never get a sense of what they're doing or what they're up to. I really don't.
Nobody
And
does.
right. And
I,
they have a lot of money, and I'm not saying they're even
they have a
doing
lot of
anything
money.
wrong. I just want to know what they're doing. That's all I want to know.
Right. Well, there's a transparency piece in this too. Listen, I have made the case on my podcast, and publicly, that I do think we should have an organization, right? Like, there is a reason why we need to lean on each other, learn from each other, coagulate around our lobbying efforts. I do
Yeah,
think that's valuable. But in this day and age, the way that if NAR is not making policies like the way they govern with 1,000 volunteer members, 95 committees, is bananas and unnecessary. If you've ever joined one of these committee calls, you see 500 people on a Zoom. It seems like it's like, what? How can anything ever get done? Or how could it not just be groupthink? I served on the board of directors for LA for a minute, and I didn't like the way it worked. And they didn't like me either because I kept trying to bring up the transparency issue with the listing brokerage information. And they were like, you're in the wrong place. You need to go somewhere else. And I kept bringing up clear cooperation as an issue. And they told me this is not the right venue for that. And then I went on Inman and I spoke about why, what I was feeling about that. And I got a cease and desist from my own association because they did not want me up there challenging the merits of this uh, policy that has so many flaws in it. And I'm like, this is, on one hand, they'll tell you if you go to any conferences, they'll say, get involved, get involved, get involved. But once you get involved, they do not want you to think, talk,
oh,
challenge. They say they
absolutely.
do, but my experience is they don't. That's
No,
just
it
my
is it
experience.
is it is
Maybe.
play ball for sure.
Yeah,
100%.
and I'm like, how could it not be if you got all these people who have to come to one agreement on something, and there are too many people in the room, it's gonna feel like group think. There's not even enough time on the call to have really challenging opinions. But
Yeah,
this is my life. This is my future, and it's moving really fast. So I think the idea of holding data, to get back to it, this idea of data being precious, that's an OG idea, right? That's how it was prior
sure.
to the internet, right? The agents were the gatekeepers.
Yeah,
We held the listings. We had to give you access, to the listings. I think we can throw that out the window. The reality is there's nothing in the MLS that my client cannot see on Redfin or Zillow, right?
yeah,
So I am no longer the gatekeeper. So the only gate that's left is private listings. That's a gate.
yep.
But does it serve the interests of the seller? If you have to sign a disclosure that says, I understand by doing this, I might not get the best price, I might not get the best terms, I might not have the most clients. Like, why would you sign that?
It
Don't sign
it
that. You
it
don't need to do that.
it's all smoke and mirrors, right?
It
It's
it feels like it to me. especially
Yeah,
when you see that the majority of those privately marketed listings end up on the MLS anyway.
of
And that's
course.
why it really,
It's just a
it's a
testing
thorn,
ground. It's a
it's a
testing ground.
marketing ploy, and it's
Yeah,
also, it's gaming the system. You're like, I can market without days on market. Well, don't we all wish we could do that? You know what I
yeah,
mean? Wouldn't that be amazing? But if you're only marketing to a small group of people, is your market test really a market test? No. The market test is out here. And if you're expert in your field, you have the ability to review the last 30 listings in a half-mile radius with similar specs and be able to advise your client on what the range of listing prices are and what the demand will be at the different price points. All that information is also available on almost every platform, on RPR, on Real Scout, on all of these platforms. You can look up the market demand in the area. You do not need to do it that way. So that part feels disingenuous to me. Um, but if a seller says, I want to market it, I don't want to have people through, or I don't want to put it on at Christmas. I know that that's a bad time, but I still would sell it at a certain price point if you bring me the buyer. There should be a place for any agent at
for sure.
any brokerage to get that word out. And so I just
And
see a statewide MLS and an open source, or not even open source, or like the private listing network coming back on board, having a nationwide place for private listings and a statewide MLS, and it solves the problem. I'm not even sure I would need local membership, national membership. Did you see Russ Cafano's op-ed
no, I
in the
haven't, not
news?
yet.
Oh, that's a good one to read. We should put that link in for your
I
people.
I think
Um,
for nationwide,
that's a good one.
private listing, it would have to be a non-privatized. It would have to be kind of like how Alcoholics Anonymous is run. It's like
Well,
there's
that's
an
why I said open
organization,
source.
but you can't like donate to them. You can't give them money. There's no membership
No.
fees. There's like everybody chips in a dollar or whatever,
Yeah, a
to pay the
contribution
freight.
based
But
model.
it's something where there's no hierarchy, there's no
Yeah,
incentive, like it's just the
no.
data and we're just putting it out there and nobody can
Just
manipulate it. Yeah,
isn't that just the way the MLS used to be? To me, our real estate license should be the thing that gives us access to all the things. We shouldn't need to join an MLS and NAR and CAR and GLAR just to get a super access.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Why do we have to jump through so many hoops? I don't think we should need to do that when our job is to sell real estate, right? So what we need to do is put our beautiful listings in front of buyers wanting to buy and facilitate that transaction. Let's bring it back to the basics. Keep access as transparent as possible. Honor the seller's choices, yes, but also don't disempower. If you really care about the outcome that the seller is going to have, don't disempower agents at other brokerages from seeing what the seller has to offer. I mean, that just seems like a fiduciary responsibility to me.
It's an
Otherwise,
inherent
who
conflict with
it
fiduciary duties. Yes,
it's a conflict if all you're trying to do is double end the deal, which is always a
right,
problem.
of course.
Um, so I just don't understand why everybody wouldn't agree. Private listings are only in the best interest of the seller if they if we give it the best shot we possibly can. And what does that look like?
Love it.
I think there needs to be an industry place for it. And plus, I wouldn't mind being able to say to buyers and sellers, I do have access to a nationwide private listing
I love
network.
it. I
I
love
think
that
that
idea.
would be great. And then they never feel like, oh, well, I have to go by gun to the head with this agent that I don't even want to go with. But they told me that if I don't go with them, I won't have access to this private listing network. That already has so many potential discriminatory things around it. I just don't like it. I don't like it. I'm like for the people, man. I want everybody to have an option to see what there is out there and have a chance at buying a home that they love and experiencing the joy of home ownership.
Courtney Poulos has been our guest. You are amazing. She is amazing. And we want to do more of these. So if you liked this kind of conversation, which isn't our normal conversation. So for 7 years, we mostly talked to top agents saying, tell us your story. We still do that. We love that. We love hearing how agents are doing that. And Courtney could do that as well. But I love having her on here to talk about what's currently going on in the industry. And we do this with Chris Linsell as well. But we thought, wouldn't it be fun for Courtney and I to do more of these? So if you want more of this, and maybe we even take your questions live, maybe we interact, we could certainly figure something out to where you can participate and be part of the conversation. That would be a lot of fun. and you might have an opinion you want to share. We would love to hear from you as well. So let us know, give us some feedback. If you want to keep this kind of conversation rolling, we can add this to our already lineup of stuff. Courtney can add it as well. But I want everybody to follow her on her YouTube channel, which is Acme Real Estate. You can find all of her the Clean Clothes podcast episodes, which is newer, and it's really opinionated in a good way and takes a position, and whereas most agents aren't willing to do that. CourtneyPoulos.com is where you go to find out all the things Courtney. She speaks, she writes, she has a Substack. Definitely subscribe to that. And she has a brokerage, Acme Brokerage in LA. They are amazing. And, we were just talking. It was funny. I was just talking to her before, and I said, "Do you want more agents? Because I could probably turn on the spigot for you because we have so many listeners, and they're going to want to hang out with you after this episode because of how great you are." And she goes, "I don't know." So, so she doesn't know if she wants, because again,
Listen, we're a quality,
it's
not a
quality.
quantity game.
I
It's a quality game, and I
could
just
not
want
agree
people
with
who
you.
are aligned.
I could not agree with you more. But if you are maybe you're an agent in a different area and you have people that move in and out of the LA area and you want to just connect with them for referral reasons, yes, definitely reach out. And if you are an agent in the LA area and you are interested, you never know. Reach out and say, here's what I could offer you, right? But this is the point: is we want more of these conversations. We want to hear the voice of our listeners, and Courtney and I can bring that to you. So on behalf of first of all, on behalf of our listeners, Courtney, thank you for taking your time. We know how busy you are.
Hey,
You are a type A. You're I don't even type A isn't even the right term for you. You are just a doer. You've done a lot since the age of 13. That's incredible.
yeah,
And a real
thank you.
superstar. And you think about things, you take a position, you have opinions, you're well thought out, and we need more people like you in the industry. And so on behalf of the audience, thanks. On behalf of Courtney and myself, thank you to everyone who is currently listening or watching this. We appreciate you. All that we ask is you tell a friend. Think of one other realtor that you know that needs to be informed about these kind of topics, and send them a link to our show. Keeping It Real is mine. Courtney's is the Clean Clothes. We will have links to both of those in the show notes. So please hit the subscribe button and get on get you'll hear our future episodes. And also, please leave us a review. Whatever you think about the show, this is how we improve. So we need your feedback, just like we were talking about at the beginning, the open house feedback. We need feedback. So what works for you and what doesn't, and we continually make improvements. So on behalf of everyone, also thank you to our sponsors. We thank everyone for this episode. Courtney, I cannot wait to do this again with you.
I can't wait to. Sorry for the loud background. Oh, the gardener has
No,
arrived.
we did.
Can't
It
hear
didn't
it?
come through at all. We
Oh,
didn't come.
cool. Okay. All right. Hey, it's been a total pleasure. I look forward to our next one. Let's get it on the books.
Let's do it. All right. All right, everybody. We will see you on the next episode.